Hello, I'm Jez Nelson and welcome to Sony Music Entertainment's presentation for the 2021 IAB UK podcast Upfronts. We are really excited to be here for the first time. Sony Music has been a global leader in audio entertainment for decades and is committed to growing overall audio consumption through the development and significant expansion of our podcast business. Through strong partnerships with leading global podcast creators, Sony Music has hit shows across true crime, lifestyle, culture, music and more. With our proud history as a global entertainment business, we want to delight podcast audiences wherever they are and whatever their interests. Now, some of you may know that I founded something else as an independent radio business 30 years ago, so I've been around audio media for a little while. But genuinely, there's never been a moment anything like this. I love radio, but podcasting has taken the relationship with audiences to a whole new level. Now that Something Else is part of Sony Music, we're on a mission to grow a truly global podcast business based on putting our creators at the heart of everything we do. This approach is helping us work with some of the best people in the business, whether that be leading investigative journalist John Carreyrou, the writer who broke the Theranos scandal and is now the host of our brilliant series Bad Blood, the final chapter, or a star like David Tennant, a superb actor who just happens to be rather good at podcasting too. So today we're going to showcase some of our premium shows that have built large, loyal audiences, and I'll introduce you to some key members of the Sony Music Global Podcast team. Plus, we'll preview some of our most exciting upcoming shows and highlight our company's unique offerings for advertisers. But first, let's have a look at what we've been up to over the last year at Sony Music.
All of a sudden here, we started hearing screaming, bye.
There should be an investigation.
Have you ever wondered about those people in life who don't play by the rules? We have a name for these people. We call them cheats.
I am in a situation with American on a possible hijack.
This is the story of the crisis after the terrorist attacks on the 11th of September 2001. I'm David Dimbleby and I'm the host of The Fault Line, Bush, Blair and the Iraq War.
If we're ever going to understand the woman who holds all of Epstein's secrets, we need to know about the first scandal that forever changed her life. From Something Else, I'm Tara Palmieri. This is season 1 of Power, The Maxwells.
This guy was accused of exploiting people, fraud, and abuse.
How he was able to keep this going is just stunning.
I'm Alex Schumann, and this is Smokescreen, Fake Priest.
What happens in Vegas ain't gonna stay in Vegas.
I met him after playing poker one night, and he shows me the diamond.
And so he sold 16 machine guns and just disappeared.
This is High Rollers, season 2 of Chameleon.
At a bizarre ending, the city's top arson investigator is himself charged with arson.
There was no clue to the madness that would cause him to set fires all over California.
Hello, David Tennant here. Jim Parsons, Stacey Abrams, Dan Levy. David Tennant does a podcast with.
It's about improving your word power, why words matter, having fun along the way. Something Rhymes with Purple with Susie Dent and Giles Brandreth.
Let me give you a little rundown. Each week I discuss the most embarrassing, real secrets that have been anonymously submitted by you, the listeners. Welcome to the Secrets Out podcast.
Okay, let's turn to Ian Wright.
I'll be sharing with you some extraordinary stories of courage from the unsung heroes in our community.
Okay, there it is, man. Ian Wright's Everyday People.
This is where me, Claudia Winkleman, and Professor Tanya Byron identify struggles faced by real people.
Even if the topic doesn't affect you immediately, you still learn something.
Snapshot of some of our most successful shows from the last 12 months. Podcasting engages its listeners in a way unlike any other medium because, amongst other things, it allows people to dive deep into their passions. And at Sony Music, we have a philosophy of finding the perfect hosts to match these passions. A couple of great examples of this are two of our most successful UK shows. Out to Lunch, a celebration of food and chat with the UK's leading restaurant critic, Jay Rayner, and Something Rhymes with Purple, a podcast all about language with Giles Brandreth and Susie Dent. Well, in this age of the mashup, we thought we'd bring these two shows together.
Susie Dent, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Jay, thank you very much. Welcome to Something Rhymes with Purple.
Indeed. So in Out to Lunch, I take a fabulous person to a restaurant, I feed them well, turn on the microphones and get the best chat out of them. Because what I've learnt, 22 years of being a restaurant critic, is that people really do talk when you give them good food, and they sort of forget the microphones are there and you have the kind of chat you don't have anywhere. But today's a little bit different, isn't it?
Today is a bit different because I'm here representing Something Rhymes with Purple, another podcast which has me and Giles Brandreth, two absolute lovers, fans of words. And that's what we talk about, obviously. We take bits of language, themes of language, and we dig into them. Giles drops as many names as he can possibly get in. I look into the etymologies, the history, just the richness of words. So it's a kind of podcast for word nerds like us, but also anybody who's passionate about language. And it turns out most of us are.
So, Susie, I think a toast is in order.
Definitely.
But tell me, what the hell does raising a glass of wine have to do with hot bread?
The toast was actually real toast once upon a time. So it was tiny slices of spiced toast that were put into a drink to improve the flavour. And it then kind of slipped into, I guess, the idea that the toast improves the flavour of the wine, much as the person you are toasting improves the flavour of the company. There's so many lovely drinking etymologies. So,
give me a few more.
Carousing, from the German gar austrinken, which means to drink to the very last drop, in which case you are a tosspot.
Oh, well, many people have called me that, and often restaurateurs after I've done a review. Why am I a tosspot?
A tosspot. So the first tosspots were people who propped up the bar and tossed back their pot of beer one after the other.
So, Susie, what do you love about podcasting?
It's that direct contact with the people who are listening to you. I have been stopped, as has Giles, in the weirdest situations by people saying, I'm a purple person, because we call them purple people. At a set of traffic lights once, I had a motorcyclist come up, I had my window open, and he just lifted his visor and said, I'm a purple person. And I love that. You know, I love that sense of community, which I don't think I've had ever to this extent from anything else I've ever done. How about you?
I do a lot of radio, and I'm absolutely certain that some of my marvellous audience, they're all fabulous, it sort of is inherited from the show that went before. And that's great. That's how radio works. With podcasts, they are choosing to put you in their ears. And it generally is in their ears. I've had people stop me pulling their earphones out and going, I'm listening to Out to Lunch right now. Should we go Dutch on the bill?
Let's go Dutch. You know where that comes from?
I do not know where that comes from.
We used to hate the Dutch.
Did we?
Yeah, as simple as that. So Anglo-Dutch wars, between 17th, 18th centuries, anything that was a bit shoddy, not quite there, we called it Dutch. So Dutch courage is courage you can only get from a bottle.
Oh, right, OK.
And if you go Dutch, the implication is you're just a tightwad and you're not going to fork out for the whole thing yourself. But you know my favourite?
Go on, tell me.
A Dutch feast is one where the host gets drunk before the guests.
Well, we've all had dinner parties like that, haven't we?
I have definitely been there.
So it's been a delight taking Something Rhymes with Purple out to lunch. But what does rhyme with purple?
Well, at least two things.
Go on.
Kerple, which is the back of a horse's rump, and to herple, which is to walk with a limp. And that is going to be me if I have any more of this.
Yeah, but nobody's going to notice.
You
Raise your
reckon?
glass, Dent.
OK. Cheers, Jay.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Something Rhymes with Purple and Out to Lunch are long-running popular shows that their listeners love, and they are brilliant at bringing clients' campaigns to life. It's really exciting for us to see the way that our partners in advertising want to align with our philosophy of reaching diverse audiences with engaging premium content to grow audio consumption across the world. Recently, we've done a deep dive into what listeners want to hear and where that meets what advertisers are looking for. And you'll see the results of that in a slate of new releases across the next 6 to 12 months from Sony Music. In fact, we're going to talk about one of those new shows now, the first to come out of that work. Research that showed us that there's an audience and advertiser appetite for bold new content for a younger female audience. So I want to introduce you to Carly Mail, who's one of our brilliant exec producers. Carly, tell us about this new show you're making.
Yeah, so the podcast is called The Female Gaze, and it's with the host Florence Given. She's a best-selling author of the book Women Don't Know You Pretty. She's a leading voice in fourth wave feminism. And the podcast is covering, topics through a feminist lens. So we're exploring topics like sex, relationships, social media, so much more. And, just as a little tease, Florence is speaking to the dominatrix, Madame Storm, in one of the first episodes. So they're speaking about sexual empowerment and, breaking out of the shame that women feel around sex, basically. So it's all about pussy power, Jez.
Okay. So why are you so excited to be working on the show?
I love Florence. She's only 22. She's an era-defining voice of her generation, speaking directly to that generation, and she has genuinely changed people's lives. She's a formidable force, and I'm truly excited to be empowering people through podcasting.
And as I said, the research shows us that advertisers want to reach this audience, and they're an incredibly engaged audience.
Yeah, and she's got an incredibly engaged audience, absolutely, and a committed audience. It's predominantly women in their 20s and 30s, they buy into her, and if she believes in something, they believe in it. So it's really a great opportunity to bring brands to life through the content that we're making, and her audience is, hugely into her and her successful merch range, big following, and across her TikTok alone, she has, over 1 million views.
Thank you very much, Carly. And in addition to The Female Gaze, we have lots of other new titles launching and new series of some of our hit shows on the way. One of my personal favourites is Cheat, a weekly podcast that combines the best of true crime, storytelling and fun. It's hosted by the amazing Alzo Slade, who's a professor of philosophy, a stand-up comedian and a Peabody and Emmy Award winner. Not many people can say that. Over to you, Alzo.
Hey, good people from across the pond. It's very good to be here with you guys at the UK IAB Upfronts. I hope you're having a great time. My name is Alzo Slade. I'm a recovering philosophy professor and the host of the podcast Cheat from Something Else. Cheat is a weekly storytelling podcast where we look at scandals throughout history in the world of sport, finance, art, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we ask ourselves the question, is it ever okay to break the rules? Instead of me explaining more about what the show is and how great it is, our producers put together a list of quick-fire questions that get to the very core of what it is that we're doing in this series. And as I answer these questions, I'm going to ask you to do the same. Do you like that smile at the end? Is there a philosophy of cheating? I think so. I think it depends on who it is that's doing the cheating. Because if I'm hungry and I need to feed my family, my philosophy is, yeah, I'm going to cheat in order to survive. Of all the cheats that we've focused on in this series so far, Navinder Sarao is one of my favorites. From the bedroom of his parents' house in the suburbs of London, this dude caused a $1 trillion flash crash in the international financial markets. And he wasn't even doing it for the money. He was just pissed off because he thought they were cheating. That might be a cheat I can get behind. Why am I so interested in people who cheat? I want to put myself in their shoes, see if I would do the same thing given the same circumstances. We did an episode where these folks got cheated buying a fake painting that they thought was painted by a very famous artist. They bought it for $17 million. Since you make a lot of money in this ad industry, I'm looking out for you. So if you're sitting in front of a huge painting that you paid millions of dollars for, from me to you might want to get it checked out. I don't know if you folks across the pond in the UK cheat any differently than Americans, but you guys get away with it because of that goddamn accent. People think you all are smarter than everybody else. Y'all are slick with your cheating because of that British accent. That was terrible. Sorry.
Thanks, Alzo. I love him. Cheat is a must listen for me, and I'm glad to say it's winning loyal audiences in the US and the UK. Now, let's find out more about advertising opportunities across the Sony Music podcast slate. Here to share more about how we can bring your brand to life through our content is Sean Wilson, our head of sales in the UK, and Molly Brown from Thanks very much for joining me, guys. Sean, so talk us through some of the offerings that we can give to clients.
Well, we offer host read, spots and sponsorships. Sponsorships are a more novel option where you can have an extended host read, or you can have a bonus episode that a brand can own a piece of themselves. And the podcasting medium lends itself really well to storytelling. We can tell stories within the different slots that we have available. And a recent Nintendo campaign comes to mind where the agency purchased all the available slots within every available episode in a specific season. The pre-roll and the post-roll were a competition call to action, and the mid-roll itself was around the host's affinity and love for Nintendo. And speaking of creative campaigns, Jay Rayner, who you would have seen earlier, he has a really personable and charismatic tone to his host reads. The tone of Out to Lunch, it really fits how he delivers the reads themselves. And one that comes to mind is Acorn TV, where he discussed his love for Scandinavian crime drama. Yeah, I heard that. He actually loves doing the reads, doesn't he? And we can kind of, through the content we have now and the content on the way, we can reach a wide range of audiences. Yes, definitely. So I like to make distinction between the supporters of our hosts and fans, and each host has their own distinct great fan base, whether it's David Tennant, Florence Given or Alzo Slade. And we really give brands the opportunity to have context-rich, strong conversations with each one of these podcast hosts themselves. Thank you. Well, Molly, thank you for being a client. I mean, how have you used the Sony podcast slate to reach your audiences?
Well, recently, my client, The Economist, was looking to come back to podcasts. They use them to drive subscriptions. We know from past campaigns that the read is something that's really important when it comes to success. So we looked to Sony to find a suitable podcast, and How Did We Get Here was one that stuck out. So it's Claudia Winkleman and Professor Tanya Byron who talk about family dynamic and relationships. But actually there's two hosts, and another thing that our past activity taught us was that dialogue between two hosts can make the read sound really authentic. And that's exactly what we got. The read that came over was excellent. It sounded really engaged. And also advocacy from someone like Claudia is really valuable to a brand like The Economist. And it was heard over 100,000 times. And yeah, it performed really well for us. Brilliant. And you kind of know some of the stuff we've got coming up. What are you excited about on the slate? Yeah, well, I was just listening earlier about the female gaze. I'm really excited about that because I am a big Florence Given fan. But also we have lots of clients that plan annually around International Women's Day. So I feel like that will be quite a good content alignment for lots of brands. Thank you very much, Molly and Sean, and to everyone who's played a part in this first appearance for Sony Music Entertainment at the UK IABs. 2022 is going to be a big year for podcasting, and expect to see a range of new premium content releases from all of our creators in the Sony Music Entertainment network. Some we have to keep tucked up our sleeve for now, but I'll finish off with a taster of some highlights to look out for. Thanks for watching.
What's up, beautiful people? My name is Kirk Franklin. It's about where faith meets culture.
And forget the wave at the football stadium. You've never seen the wave of the Spirit.
Do life with your boy. Let's go.
Hello, it's Clara Amfo here, and welcome to my new podcast exploring the stories behind the great metropolis we call London.
You don't even have to be anywhere special. You just need to go out your house and you'll see something exciting.
This city.
I've started this podcast because I want to host conversations that can provide the depth you don't get from an Instagram caption, and I'm so happy that you're joining me in this process.
The journalist responsible for exposing Theranos is John Carreyrou. About the trial, should we expect any surprises?
One big thing is whether she's going to testify, and if that happens, that's going to be a fascinating moment.
No one knows who killed Sean Collier or why police haven't solved the case, but finding those answers is key to understanding the radical who changed the city, that changed the country. This is The Fault Line, dying for a fight.
Corruption so bad, LA City Hall has never seen anything like it.
Activists chanted, calling Jose Huizar a vendido, a sellout in Spanish.
From Neon Hub Media and LA Taco, this is The Sellout.
Steve Coe was larger than life, and it seemed like he had run-ins with everyone famous. This is Hemingway's Picasso.
Where's the line between success and excess? What matters more, family or money? And how much is enough? I'm Ariel Levy, and this is the Just Enough family.
Behind the scenes, there were much darker aspects to Hefner's power. We're exploring Hefner's power through the lens of the women who made Playboy so captivating. This is season 2 of Power, the story of Hugh Hefner and the rise and fall of Playboy.
Sometimes the most interesting stories from history aren't the ones we expect. It's the stories that were lost. Eclipsed is a weekly history show from Campsite Media.
Jez, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. We saw it in the VT. There's so many different areas that you're in, from food with Jay Rayner, talk about mental health, there's true crime. Was that always the intention, to go in and be really broad in everything, or was there ever a temptation to go in and be niche and really own something?
No, I don't think Sony Music Entertainment is a niche business. So I think if you think about the business, it's got a great track record of backing artists and backing creators. So wherever they are, if we can find people who are great storytellers, who are engaging characters, who are passionate about something, and we think they can reach a large audience, then we'll back them. So I think it's always been, the philosophy is to have a sort of a broad slate. And in fact, you're going to see us over the next year, I think, moving into other areas where we believe the audience are.
Yeah, mate. And we saw a couple of the things that were coming there, sneak peek, things that are wetting your whistle. What are you most excited about next year? I'll
tell you what I'm excited about, because I listened to the first episode this morning. It's the second season of Power. We did Power all about Robert Maxwell last year, and the new season is about Hugh Hefner, who's an equally fascinating and let's say a kind of light and dark character. So I listened to the first episode of that this morning, so I can tell you it's going to be great.
And one of the Maxwells was absolutely superb. It was a brilliant debut up front. Thank you so much, Jez. It was fantastic.